Alright, in this tutorial we're going to allow our game object to shoot. So we have these little pink lasers that are shooting the game object off the platform. You missed it a couple times there. So yeah, for those of you who are new, this is a part of a series where we're creating a tank game from scratch. So if you missed a couple of videos, feel free to use the links in the description to catch up a bit. So let's get started. Alright, the first thing we're going to do is create a new game object. That's going to be our bullet. So we'll go to Game Object, Create Other, and let's create a sphere. And we'll call this Bullet. Alright, so we got this giant sphere right here in comparison to all the other game objects in our scene right now. So I'm going to just kind of shrink that up a little bit. So let's go say this is scale 0.2. That should be about good. Then we're going to go add a component. So just click Add Component down here. Go to Effects. We're going to choose Trail Renderer. So this is what's going to give us the laser effect that you saw in the intro. So right now the defaults are pretty boring with the white. So what we can do is I usually just select red. Just kind of get a little darker as we go down. Maybe an orange. You get the idea. After we have the trail renderer, we're going to add another component to this new bullet object, and this is going to be physics rigid body. So we did a lot with the rigid body component in the last tutorial, working with physics. So this is also bullet's going to also need the physics component because it's going to interact with what you're actually shooting. So what we're going to do in this tutorial is shoot some of these blocks. So depending on the mass that we put in the property here under the rigid body will change how much it affects what we're shooting. So I'm going to leave it at 1. Just do 0, 0 for the angular drag. My lasers aren't going to have much of a drag, right? Take gravity off. Lasers shouldn't be affected by gravity. And then I'm going to freeze some of my rotations. So that should be good. So that's all we're going to do with the bullet right now. I'll quick rename this because everything else is uppercase and that just bothered me. Now let's go on and work on getting this tank turret to rotate. So if we're going to shoot, we don't want to always just shoot straight, right? We're going to want to rotate that turret just like a tank would. So to do that is right now we have all of these separate children under our tank parent, and we want this cube that you see here. So I'm going to zoom in so you can see the cube object I'm selecting. So you see this cube object I'm selecting. We want that to be connected to the cylinder here. So to do that, you just simply drag the cube into the cylinder with a left click there. So now they're one unit. Cool. So now we're going to write a script that will allow us, based on key press, to rotate this turret. So we've written a script before. We're just going to right click in our project again, create the JavaScript, and we'll call it turret. Now I'm not going to bore you by writing this with you, so I'm just going to go back to my GitHub account where we had our movement script from our 5th tutorial. Something I should show you real quick based on the comments. I had one guy, he clicked this link here, and so we copied all this code, but it wasn't working. That's because there's all these pluses. So what you have to do is when you go to copy this code, you can either download it to your computer or just select turret, right, or the shoot script. So we're going to just copy this just like that. Go back to our game. I'm going to double click on my turret. It's going to open Mono Develop by default, and I'm just going to paste over that, and I'm going to save. So there we have our script without spending too much time. So the GitHub link is in the video description. So just click that link, find the turret script, and you're good to go. So to apply that, we created the script, but we didn't associate that with any of our game objects. So what we can do is just drag this turret script right on the cylinder. And again, because the cylinder is the parent object, that affects the cube as well. So taking a closer look at the script, you see that we use the input get key Z, and input get key C. So based on those key presses, we have a -5 and a +5 movements. So you can play around with this a little bit, but I found that it's pretty good speed. So let's play this real quick, and let's try the Z and the C. So you can see now our turret rotates. Perfect. You can see our bullet sitting right there not doing much because we haven't done anything with that yet besides just create it. Alright, so let's go back into our game, and now we are going to shoot out of this turret our bullet. Alright, so we're going to create a new script that allows us to shoot the bullet we created a minute ago. To do that, we'll just go right click, create JavaScript, and just name that shoot. We'll go back to GitHub, and we'll go to Unity Tutorials Materials. Again, that link is in the video's description. This time we'll select shoot.js, and then we can copy this code right here. I'll just point out that there are 3 variables. We have the bullet, so you're going to select the bullet you'll be using in the script, the force of the shot, and the starting position. And then you'll notice here the shooting is based on get button down jump, which is spacebar. So just copy this, go back, and just double click on that shoot script so we can go into mono development, just paste and save, and we're good to go. So now let's take that shoot script and we're going to drag it onto our cube, so our turret here. So just drag that there. Alright, so now we have the new component of the script on our cube. So let's click play and see what we have. So I'm going to drive and press spacebar. Nothing's happening. Let's see if we can figure out what's wrong real quick. So cube, shoot. So we didn't fill out those properties yet. So we have to select what the bullet's going to be. So we'll select here, click bullet. Then we'll tell it what the shoot force is. Let's try 2000. And then for the shoot position, I can just select this little circle here to select the game object, or I can just drag and drop the cylinder here. So I am dragging the cylinder of our turret as a shoot position. So let's try that again. Click play and shoot, and now we have a laser. So you can see it's not very realistic. It's kind of very slow in terms of the lifetime of that laser, and it's kind of wide. So I'm going to get out of play mode here, and I'm going to go back into our bullet. And if we go back to that trail renderer, we'll see we have a ton of properties we can play with. So the first property I'm going to change is time. I'm going to want to change that to like 0.05. And then the start width and end width, let's try 0.01. Let's try 0.1 and 0.1. So let's try that. Click play. And shoot. It's a little better. So you can play around with that if you want. I think what I'm going to do is on my bullet game object is change the time to 0.1, so doubling that from what it was. And then I'm going to take that bullet and make it scale it down a little more, so half the size, 0.1, 0.1, 0.1, because it looked like we were shooting a cannonball a little bit. So there we go, you can see it's a little better. So unfortunately, there's nothing really to shoot in terms of knocking things over, right? Well, so what we can do is refresh what we learned in our last tutorial and add a rigid body on this game object here. So we got our play mode. I'm going to go to that specific cube right there, so I got it. And I'm going to add the physics rigid body, and then I'm going to select, let's set the mass as 2, the drag as 1, and the angular drag as 1 as well. And then we'll leave everything else as default. So let's give it a shot again, play. Let's try shooting that again. There we go. So now you can have a little fun. Sweet. Alright, isn't that kind of cool? Oh, and don't forget that we can rotate our turret and shoot as well. So again, with the C and Z. So pretty slick, huh? One thing I did notice, that if I shoot it against this object here, some of those spheres actually are sticking to the side of this ramp here. So that's not good. So what I can, an easy, quick way to fix that is to go back to our bullet, just take off the mesh renderer. That's not necessary since we're using the trail renderer for our laser. Another thing you can do is just select auto destruct. But I'm of course open to any other ideas. If you guys have any tips for making this better, please feel free to add those to the comments. Hi, I just want to quick say a big thanks to those of you who are participating in this series. Here's a couple of my favorite comments so far below. If you haven't already, please subscribe so you don't miss any of my new videos. But thanks again.